Check, check. Check, 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 check. Okay. Check, check. All right. Well, shit. I'm back. I'm back. And once again, no music because I'm lazy. Don't feel like sitting on my headphones. So, do another short stream today. I'd like to get a little bit of attempt to get some work done. I actually got lucky today, and my parts finally showed up for this one build. I'm still not convinced it's gonna fix my problem here, but it's kind of like my last hope as to what might be going wrong with this particular board. So a couple of updates from last time I streamed. I had one of those atomic purples that we got everything working but the Wi-Fi on, and from what I can tell, I have to replace the Wi-Fi chip. So yeah, that's also now on order and won't be showing up for another couple of weeks. So that one's going to have to get shoved aside until they show up. But from what I can tell, I mean, and even judging from the damage that was on the damn thing, yeah, it was pretty fried. And the chip had the telltale marks of being overheated. So I'm thinking some sort of electrical surge went through that board somehow, and I don't know how it didn't take out way more sensitive components, but the Wi-Fi chip definitely died. So this board, if you remember, is the one where everything works, but the backlight won't come on. And I was thinking the backlight driver itself might be fried, so we put backlight drivers on order, and those finally showed up today. So what we're going to do is we are going to pull the backlight driver off this one, put a new one on, and get disappointed when it doesn't work, and go back to square one into figuring out why my backlight won't come on. Because the LCD is fine, and the digitizer is fine, but this little guy right here, which if I can maybe zoom in just a little bit, this little guy right here, it's kind of hard to see, but we'll zoom in on the microscope. He is responsible for powering the backlight, and I've actually never had to replace one before. I mean, it's just a small BGA chip. It's not like it's a specifically terribly hard install, but they're generally fairly sturdy. And I have just never had the need to replace one. So this is going to be kind of a first for me. So I'm a little excited to do it, but I'd rather not have to, just because less work I got to do, the better. And the less I got to replace on these things, the more money I can make. So, selfishly. But see, we're going to be focusing today on this chip right here, and I started all this just assuming that what I ordered is correct, and from what I could tell, it is. We're going to take a quick look, and then I'll gloat and show the part number. And then, so let's see here. I mean, very, very, very similar. So let's pull one out here. Now, these were available stateside. I got them from DigiKey. They should have been here last Thursday, but at least for me, historically, FedEx hands down, absolutely the worst carrier out there. They shipped my package. It should have been here on a Thursday. Well, they didn't even pick it up until the day it was supposed to arrive, and it took me kind of bitching at people at DigiKey to figure out what the heck was going on. Okay. So, I mean, it does look very similar. It's a 1, 2, 3. It's a 9-ball BGA, which I think is exactly what we got here. Let's pull this chip again, just to show you guys. So BGA stands for ball grid array, and these are actually tiny little solder balls instead of legs like you get like here, or like little metal plates like you get here and here. And they sit on circular pads, kind of like this. And they are a pain in the ass to work with. You know, you don't really want to muck with them too much because it is hard to, if you pull them off and you damage the balls. I mean, even if you don't, like, you're theoretically, every time that you pull a BGA chip off, if you want to reuse it, you've got to replace the solder balls that are on the bottom, which is just it's an impossible task, but it's not fun either. Okay, so I'm assuming, and I'm going to zoom in here for just a second, but I just gotta think that's the dot. Do I not have my inspection mode turned on? I'm assuming not. I do not. Yeah, so that's the dot. So we're going to take this off the board so I don't lose it. Stick it over here. Actually, you know, I'm going to stick that here. Let me get this in a board holder. I guess I'm going to have to protect that connector some, because it is pretty close to where I'm working. So I'd like to not melt it because I don't want to have to replace that frickin' thing as well. I should have some silicone pads pretty much ready for this. So I like to use thermal pads, cover some of these connectors up, just because it does offer more protection than Kapton tape itself. Kapton tape works, it's just not the best. Now, I don't think so. We're gonna, so you can see here that I'm gonna zoom out. I just did that. So I basically put this thermal pad over this connector, and then I am going to use some Kapton tape just as a double whammy. Never hurts to be more protected. Now again, though, I'll show you here in a second, you got to be careful in this area. And I might not go that far off the edge of the board. Oh shoot, that was not ideal, but it'll work. So unfortunately, right on the other side of this board, we have the fuel gauge. Now the fuel gauge is right here. So when you wrap the tape around, kind of avoid that ship, because you don't want to squeeze down on that fuel gauge. And the reason I know is because I've done it several times. And if you squeeze down that fuel gauge is what I just described. It is a BGA chip. You will merge all of the balls, and then you'll have to replace the BGA chip on the bottom, which again is not hard, but why make life more difficult for you when just a little bit of care can help? Now, this is not, come on. See, the only thing I don't like about this get in there, I guess. Yeah, it's a tight space in there. It's going to be fun getting this guy out. Getting it in is a little bit easier. I think I can get that to squish down anymore. It's kind of how I want it. I was like that, like this right here. Because the connector's right here. So if I squish it down some. Yeah, that gives me a little bit more room to work with. I'll probably come into it from this side like this. Or maybe that was the better way, honestly. I can use my right hand to heat and then my left hand to pull. Yeah, I think we're going to make that work. So let me get a board holder going here. So I was just checking on my boys here. Tarkov wipe is in full effect still. All right, let's see. We need a board holder. What did I do with my board holder? Still haven't had a chance to organize my bench, and it is a freaking outright mess right now. And I cannot wait to fix that because this thing needs to get organized. I need to get my new equipment installed and used because I paid a lot of good money for it, and it's just sitting in a box right now. Mainly because I'm a little lazy. All right, there it is. But I was also waiting on a gigantic power strip to replace the multiple power strips I've got strewn across my floor right now. And yeah, hopefully it's gonna happen here shortly as I kind of streamline some stuff. And then by streamlining things, just like make things better, sort of. I'll have a little bit more room and space right now. My bench is at a freaking premium, let me tell you. And it's very, very cramped and uncomfortable to work on, and I don't like it. It shouldn't be like this. You should have plenty of freedom of movement. I do not. It's going to be a shorter stream today, simply because I have other things I need to get done this afternoon. I like to play my game some before I have to go back to work tomorrow. Which I'm not looking forward to, but welcome to the world, I suppose. Okay, let's see. I don't really need my Dremel right now, so I can just set that aside. Give me a little bit more room. This over here with this and this. Okay, might need to get more. Yeah, I'm gonna need more water for that in a minute. The shitty thing about this is quite honest. Wicking away the spent solder is going to be a pain in the butt. Yeah, let's get her off. You know, at the very least, we can get that going. Yeah, it's not working out the way I wanted it to. Dang it. Might have to rethink this thermal pad some. Might be a little better. Let's get some more flux in this board. Don't really need it, but just in case. Okay. Should be good there. Hopefully that'll work. I just don't want the thing to melt all over those components because it won't really affect much, but it'll be gross. Okay. All right. Well, we got her off. And the question is do I bother? Do I just stick VGA on? Not really clearing that off. Let's say no. It does feel it's not wanting to sit right, which completely makes sense because you're putting a round thing on top of a round thing. So yeah, I think I will go ahead and figure out how to clean that off. Now let's see here. Is this gonna be? That's gonna be what I want, honestly. I just don't know if I think my solder wick is gonna just be too wide for it. I might. Yeah, see how that wick is just ugh. It's gross. It's gonna. I have to almost cut this in half, which I think I could do. Wouldn't really be the greatest thing in the world, but I mean, it might work. Just don't want to see because it starts to fray, and then those individual wires tend to glue themselves to stuff you don't want them to get glued to. I mean, it's not like the end of the world, but again, it's just a giant pain in the ass. See, that's better. If I use this side, which actually I tend to leave one side of my braid with just a little bit of solder on it because it keeps it from completely falling apart on you. So I think I can make that work. We can try. We can try. We can try. Don't really need too much flux in there. There's already a bunch down there to begin with. Squeezed out way too much. We'll end up using that today, no problem. Go through flux like freaking water, which is good. Meant to be used. Rehydrating my sponge here. I use both a wet and dry sponge to clean off my soldering bits. Excuse me. Okay. Got the station heating up. And we're going to start just by kind of wetting it down, and then we'll hit it with the braid here. Just kind of want to suck up as much as I can with the tip. Makes the braid work a little bit easier. Just a tip, folks, just a tip. And so we just got to be careful, especially that 0201 right below. So I'm going to really just try to avoid touching that one. Almost got it all. I think we still have some work to do. Okay. I think that's going to be good enough, to be quite honest. Let's see if the old anti-glare trick works. It does. See though, this is again what I don't like about doing what I just did. So if we would have missed this is a conductive wire, and that would have wreaked havoc everywhere if it would have stayed on the board. Okay, so like with all our chips, these chips are indexed. We can see that pin 1 is right here. Everything looks to be okay. Makes me wonder if I should do any continuity tests or whatnot while I have the chip off, but it's really not that. That one kind of is pretty easy to deal with, so I'm not too worried about it now. The problem is now I got this thing covered in freaking flux, and so I can't read. I can't read the chip right now. Let's see if maybe this'll. A little zoomy zoom here. Pretty sure the dot. Oh, you know what? Maybe we can just take a quick look. Sometimes we get lucky and I don't have to take things out of the package. I might just have to clean this chip off some, which is fine, but right now the dot. Come on. So the writing should be upside down and it will be top right if that's the case. So the dot should be here. And then if I do this, okay, so that should be, well, no, I can't tell. Dang it. Ah, dang it. Okay. Well, let's just do this the easy way to avoid any problems here. Okay. Okay. Maybe we should be able to read this a little bit better now. I think that does it. And well, I bundled it, but let's see if this is right. Did I guess right? I did not, but we can just go ahead and deposit you on the board. It didn't want to come off. Oh, where'd you go? Oh, there you are. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, got you right. Okay. Pokey Jammy time. It's a little off, but damn it. You just really just need to use very little force. Now, I think the problem here is, okay, that should be good. Okay, so with these chips, what I like to do is reduce my airflow down to like on my station is down below 5, and start high, work low, and then all I'm really trying to do in my first pass is get it to tack on, and then once it's stuck on, then I'll hit it with more flux, faster airspeed, and then that should be the final bit of work there. So let's get this going. These things do have the tendency to kind of fly, so that's why I like the lower airspeed, because it won't blow it right off, and then usually the flux is enough to kind of glue it to the board for a second while you move closer. And then once you can kind of start to see flux boil, see it there. All right, so it just moved into place. So now what I do is I give everything just a second, just to kind of cool down and solidify, which looks like it has. And then I come in with my tweeze, little tap. Yep, see, he's in place. So now we take our flux, a nice little puddle going there. Get you guys a nice close-up of the flux. See, now this is the other problem. It hates shiny stuff. All right, so that's not completely focused, but good enough, right? Let's do this, get you off the screen. All right, so now I bump up back to 7, and then we're gonna hit it again. Yep, okay, so once I see the surrounding components kind of go dull, I think we should be good there. And then what we'll do is we'll let this board cool down for a second here, and then we'll do a quick inspection. That looks good, honestly. Pretty happy with that. That went on pretty good. The proof will be, did I ruin my connector? I did not. So the thermal pad did its job, and the plastic connector I was trying to protect is fine. I'm imagining that, just zoom out here real quick, inspection mode. So now what we do is we take a look at the balls. Yeah, the balls. So you should be able to see. It's kind of tough from this angle. I might need to put the overhead light on too. It looks like it's a little canted. We put the light on here. Let's see here. Yeah, see how it looks like it's leaning from left to right? I don't like that. It's not a good sign. Well, just take a look around. We did pick up a few of these, so I do have a couple of uh-ohs I can do, or oopsies, I should rather say. Okay, so that's the backlight chip right there. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see underneath it. But you want to look at, you can kind of see the balls there. Let's see if we can zoom in some, get a better view. Yeah. You can see the ball there, ball there, ball there. It doesn't know what to focus on right now. Might have to unzoom some. Damn. It's real tough to tell. I mean, it looks okay. That's just the problem, especially with that fat. Is that a diode? It might be a diode. It's either a diode or an inductor. And some bitch is just in the way. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get. I don't know. It looked okay to start, but now it's kind of looking a little sus. I'm a little worried. But what I'm going to do here is give it a good clean. Let's see if maybe it's just some like residual flux. It's kind of like just looking a little off. Let's scrub it with a toothbrush here, which you really can't see because I'm out of view. Yeah, sorry, I'm giving you guys a headache here. It's really not like there's much to watch anyway, but what I'm trying to do, see there's the connector and she's okay. And then I'm just scrubbing all this crap off the board. Oh, excuse me, man. Not used to talking so much. Basically right now I'm just kind of mopping up any liquefied flux, sort of. Well, I say that looks fine. It looked like it was canted before, but that looks fine. That looks fine. Let's see if maybe I can get a top down view like this. Yeah, that looks okay. I mean, there's still a little flux under there, I think, but I don't know. Let's give her a try and see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? I just blow up the LCD is all. Short the hell out of something. The reason you really kind of want to be careful around this particular circuit is the actual backlight takes up to around 17 volts of max brightness, which if you're not very familiar is a lot. It's a pretty high current for these boards, which generally have voltage lines between 1.8 to 5 is the highest that you normally see on the actual board. But that backlight is pretty thirsty for some power, so she needs a lot of juice to run right. And let's do this so you guys aren't completely blind here. Zoom out just a little bit. So she needs a lot of juice to get going, and yeah, you absolutely do not want that current. I do have a speaker installed. Okay, you don't want that current going where it shouldn't be going, or rather, say the voltage, because the amperage is the current. But regardless, 17 volts needs to stay where 17 volts is meant to stay. That seeps over to any other part of your board, you are most likely going to have a very bad time. Because in case you guys did not know, electronic components tend to not like receiving more voltage than they're intended to receive. Some cases you can get away with it. In most cases, you release the magic smoke. When you release the magic smoke, you have released yourself a component. Because that sucker ain't coming back. And if you're not that new to, or maybe if you are new to electronics repair, you are very familiar with magic smoke. It is not something you want to smell, and it is not something you want to see. Okay, so let's get the flex plugged in here. Okay. So I was trying to find. I did actually find the Molex connector for the daughter board and all that, direct from the manufacturer. So if anyone wants to loan me $23,000, we can start selling them, because their minimum order quantity is 18,000 from Molex. And unfortunately, guys, it's a little outside my price range. Okay, so we got power, we got this, we got that. What we're going to do is we're going to use my USB ammeter here. This will turn the unit on, and it'll let me know if it's booting, and that way, if the screen still doesn't light up, I'll at least know that it's still booting. Moment of truth. Nope. Huh! Folks! Oh my Lord. I think it's a first, you guys. I think this is the first time, the literal first time, I have fixed a switch on stream. We've got audio. God, just let me frickin'... It's got parental controls on it, but that is a frickin' 50-cent problem. Controllers and sensors. Test input devices, buttons, A, B, Y, X, plus. That's kind of squished out. Plus is working. Picture taken. Down, left, right, up, minus, left. Do I have this plugged in? I do. Yes. Okay. And my freaking Alexa's going off to let me know that I've got to go do something in Tarkov. But okay, we're gonna go. The only thing I wanted to double check here: internet. Oh, I don't have that plugged in. Home button gets me home. Oh my God. Oh God, that makes me so happy. I finally fixed one on stream, and it was the backlight driver. So cool. Well, that was a good diagnosis and fix. I just had to wait for the part. We'll go over this, what I did to this in just a second, and then we'll talk about getting it buttoned up and whatnot. So let's just get you. Let's just turn you off because you don't want to run these too long without the heat sink on the CPU. It's charging just fine, booting just fine. Okay, folks. So on this particular unit, now this one I bought as a personal challenge. The prior owner to this was trying to do something. I think he was trying to change the USB port, and he didn't have the proper tools. And so what happened here is, damaged USB port that I had to replace. He ripped off the speaker connector, which I had to replace. He damaged the Joy-Con connector here. He damaged the fan connector here. Last but not least, the backlight circuit, or the backlight driver IC, was dead and needed to get replaced. And other than charging the battery and buttoning this one up, it's ready for resale. Wow, I've actually got this one done. So let's just go ahead and I guess start making waves here. So this one I got for a pretty good price. I think I paid like $60 for it, or $70 after shipping and taxes. So and he was nice enough to provide me the USB port. I did have donor boards for the other parts and some spare, the connector for the fan and the connector for the Joy-Con I had new, so they came from new stock. And yeah, wow, I am beyond elated right now, if you can't tell, because I have had nothing but failure every time I stream. That's not even really failure, but I hit walls that I couldn't get past because now I've got to wait on parts, or now I really don't know what the issue is, so I've got to do some research and more testing off stream, because I don't think it's very interesting to sit here for hours probing at a board and running back and forth to my other PC to look at schematics and whatnot. So I kind of save y'all from that and do some more work in my spare time, so that next time I come and stream, I can just kind of get in there and get the work done. So we do have, those Nintendos, the other switches that working but weren't charging. The fault, I believe, is on the sys rail, and there's 8 million components on the sys rail. So what I did was I bought myself a thermal camera, which should be here this week, which I actually kind of did just want, just because I like tools, and that's a cool tool to have. A little expensive, but it will help me with short detection, and it will come in handy. And when I start working on like bigger things like that Xbox Series X that I've got sitting right next to me right now, I can diagnose issues a little bit easier, since I'm a little bit less familiar with those boards than I am with the Switch. If I've got a short, I could kind of use that to probe around the board to see where the short's coming from. And I did try to trace on the Nintendo what all the BQ chip was connected to see if maybe I could find something that stuck out obvious, but I just kept striking out. So I just kind of said, I'm going to order a FLIR, and we'll see if the FLIR will tell me where this problem is. And we're waiting on that. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to get the Wi-Fi antennas hooked in. Then I'm going to go back in real quick and just test the Joy-Cons. And then once the Joy-Cons are good, I'll hook the game. Well, maybe I'll do that now anyway. Shoot, I did this the wrong order. It's a lot easier, in case you haven't noticed, to connect the white wire first. then the black wire. Okay, now I've got to locate the rest of this case. I think the game card reader is with it. I think it's over here, right? Yes. Now, I'm not sure if he's got all the screws in here or not, but he's got enough for me to work with, so it's kind of nice, you know, like I bought this one knowing it was damaged, but he was very, I like the way that flex looks, but hopefully it's okay. At least he was very accurate with what was wrong with it, and I'll give him props on that, because most eBay sellers, either they just don't know, which is fair, you know, not everybody has interest in opening these things up. They just know they don't work. They describe the condition that's happening, and they sell it on. And so you buy them thinking it's one thing, and then you tear into it and discover that it's really more than 3 freaking things, and sometimes it's not even fixable. So you can't really get too upset unless the damage is like very obvious, or they make mention of things that they've been in the system and they don't know why things aren't working, and then you get the system and then you see like melted connectors and this and that, and you just know that, well, you obviously knew what was going on here and just decided to kind of hide that. And that does suck, because some of the boards I'd skip over had I known. You melted half the shit on them, like that last Atomic Purple one. I mean, I got to put the new USB in that one, and now the Wi-Fi chip, and then I had to replace that IPX connector for the Wi-Fi antenna. And none of that was listed as a problem. It was just, oh, there's no display, and the no display was the easy part, because that's just a damaged cable. Oh, on top of which the daughter board, this guy right here, which controls the left-hand controls, is completely shot. So, and on top of all of that, all of the freaking fasteners, or not all of them, but most of them were, most of them are rounded, and then a few of them were completely destroyed and stripped, and I had to grind them off, which is never a fun job to do, especially on sensitive electronic components. So what we're doing here is I'm hooking the game card reader in, and then I'm going to hook in the shoulder and bumper button for the other guy, so I could test that button as well. Yeah. Okay. Pretty sure. I can't remember if the. No. That should be good there. Man, this thing is kind of gross, so I'm going to clean it before I put it on. Oh, God, I'm so freaking happy right now. I am so happy. Selfishly, I also do have one more repair plan for today that was supposedly, from what I can tell, a really common and easy fix, and that was hopefully going to be my guaranteed success today, because I'm so tired of failing. So right now, these bumpers and trigger buttons They collect so much gamer gunk. Usually when I get them, they all need a good scrub with some IPA here. Just be careful of that spring. You don't want to shoot it across the room, because they're not easy to source. I just like to, a little attention to detail never hurt anyone, right? Okay. We got that looking good. Let's take a look at this bumper guy real quick with my naked eye. Yeah, he could use a scrub too. A little dinged up, not too bad. Most people don't care too much about that, and if they do, it's a pretty easy fix on my part to get him a new bumper. I guess it's kind of the one nice thing about getting skunked on builds, is that at least it gives you some spare parts to make other builds better. So even though you do lose some money on them, it comes back in other ways. Yeah, I think that's as good as we're gonna get it. It's just a little marked up, which I can't really fix, unfortunately. I don't know what this stuff is. Probably juice, if I had to guess. There was once a fix that I had where I guess, the switch belonged to like a 6-year-old or something. She spilled just the tiniest bit of Kool-Aid or some sort of sugary drink in the console, and surprisingly, like, it bridged these 2 test points on the board, and it shorted it. And all I had to do to fix it was take a little bit of alcohol. It was like over here somewhere on the other side of this board, or maybe it was over here, and scrub it. And once I scrub it, the whole thing just came back to life. It was like the weirdest thing. I even emailed her and double checked, and I asked if she knew if it had been in a liquid accident. And told her what fixed it. So I felt a little guilty, but not, because I got that one. I got that one for a really good price. And it turns out she also, in the end, wanted to upgrade to a full-size Switch regardless. So she wasn't too upset. She got some of her money back and bought her full-size Switch. And I fixed that one for absolutely free and made my money back plus some beer, or cannabis in my case, because I don't really drink beer, although I did have a very, very nice, lovely lager over New Year's Eve. Any day of the week, give me a joint over a beer. Just trying to pull out a couple of these brass screws here. And okay. One. And we got 2 here. Ben Sutter. Oh, hey Ben, are you new? Do I know you? Nice to see you. Sorry I missed your messages. I'm still pretty new to this streaming stuff, so I don't really know to tell myself to keep looking at chat. um, as for all the camera controls, no, I'm. You're not supposed to always see them, but sometimes that window gets kind of locked up and doesn't go away. I have to constantly switch between a manual focus and an autofocus mode so that I can do work, because if I leave it in autofocus, then it doesn't know where to focus and things go blurry right in the middle of a job. So, oh, Ben, is this Felchie? Felchie, is that you? I'm so not used to seeing people's real names. I just know you by your Discord names. And I grabbed the wrong thing. I need to grab some games to go test this with. Not my phone. There's my games. I got an SD card I got to test as well. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. We're back. We're good. We got our Wi-Fi hooked up. And I'm going to power you on once more. Oh, it makes me so happy to see that battery charging symbol pop up. You have no idea. I'm not the greatest tech in the world, but these past couple of streams of me just not fixing anything has made me feel really, really bad. All right, so first thing we're going to do here, pop in a game card. Just double check, make sure the game card reader is still working. So we do that left, right, top right hand corner, and then go all the way to left. And it's not. See? No game popped up. Well, shoot. Let's go check. It might be something to do with parental controls. I could also try another game card reader because that flex cable was looking a little weird. We'll go back and just do this real quick. So we wanted to check this button, this button, this button, this button works there, works and works. Okay, that works. Okay, go back to home. Go here. Check my internet. I'll verify that Wi-Fi is working. It is. That's my network right there. I won't bother connecting to it right now. But the game card reader is working. Oh, well, shoot. Try one more time. Yeah, so this is... There's a slight issue with this. Could be dirty contacts on the inside. So we'll look at that. Now, the other thing I have to test is the... Okay, the fan's working, which is good. Now, I do have an SD card right here. So this should generate me an error saying that it needs to be formatted. And I'll know that it's working at that point. It did. So you can see right here, we got the error. And that just tells you that the SD card was formatted on another system, and you need to format it to this one because they are system specific. But that is good news. But we do have a game card reader issue. I'm going to try one more time. I just want to see if it did read it for a second, so I know. Yeah, see, now that read. Pull it out, try it one more time. Maybe. Okay, we're going to try. It is feeling a little weird, but the contacts look okay. Let's do this real quick. Sprayed out a little compressed air. Might be some dust or something in there. Yeah, it seems fine now. All right, let's try one more game, or just a different game. It could have just been dirty contacts or just something in the way. That will absolutely cause the game card to not read properly. Okay, we're going to try one more time here. This is Mario Kart 8. And it works. Folks, I'm going to call that one a win. I did want to actually, before I did all of that, the last thing I do check, I do just double check for Joy-Con drift. So if you don't know, your switches do have, you can test all the inputs, and then you can test and calibrate your control sticks. And what we're doing right now is calibrating control sticks. Let me turn this light off. I might make it a little bit easier for you all to see. Okay. So basically, you see that plus in the middle. When I drag left, right, up, down, diagonal, and let go of the stick, it needs to snap back and turn back into a plus. Because I move it left, you can see it turns into a dot, and I let it snap back, and it goes to a plus. Up, plus. And so you just kind of wiggle it around. That looks good. Okay, so go back, and then we're going to tilt the other stick. Same thing. You see the plus in the middle. Everything is snapping back. Folks, that is a fixed switch. You're here first. This is a first, world's first on this stream. I do have to get parental controls off. Maybe I will do a short little video on how to do that. It's very easy. It's a 50-cent charge. Unfortunately, you do have to pay to get it off unless you can get in touch with the people who owned it and get the password for them, which I might actually do. But it's just 50 cents. And then you basically go to Nintendo's website, and this thing will spit out a code, and you plug the code in Nintendo's website. They charge you 50 cents. And then they give you an unlock code that you can put in. And you use that, and then you just completely disable parental controls, and then you're good to go. So it's 50 cents, and you get yourself back to normal. So if you ever get a Switch that has parental controls on it, don't freak out. It's a really easy fix. I'm going to make my life a little easier here. Oh man, I am overjoyed right now. Absolutely overjoyed right now. It's kind of giving me a little hope that this Wi-Fi chip I got coming from China will solve the other issue. And actually, theoretically, I guess we sort of really did fix that atomic purple one. It's not like put back together yet. I haven't really bothered streaming me installing a flex cable. I don't know. I'm probably just going to end up doing that one off stream and then just showing maybe the final product on it. But yeah, we don't. It's who cares, right? I mean, it was just a flex cable. So let's grab the rest of the parts of this thing because we're gonna have to put it back together here. This is the purple I was working on the other day. Here's the back case for one of them. I've got plenty of screws all around here, so but I needed the metal shielding, which I just can't seem to find, so we'll figure out which one of those looks nicer. It does have a screen protector. I do have more hardware to use. But I am missing, for some weird reason, unless it's over. Yeah, that's for a different one. I think this one we can just use for the, might just be over here. How many? So that's with that. That's with that. That's. These are both switch, right? No, this is the switch light. This is the switch. So you've got one and you've got one, and this is the blue one, or A1. So yeah, don't know why I'm even fretting. They're all the same. I've got plenty of these things. Okay, so these are the missing pieces that we've got left. Heat pipe, metal shielding, and then a back plate. I do want to choose, this one looks pretty good. Although I suppose technically if I really wanted to be anal about it, I don't know where that, yeah, it doesn't matter. The serial number is going to be tied to the system. They both look pristine. It doesn't really matter what I use, I don't think, so I'm not going to care too much about it. So let's go ahead and start getting the rest of the screws put in, and we'll go from there. Let's see here. I'm just going to do this the easy way. Easy way involves shoving a nice magnet okay, let's put them over there, and then all right, screw it. We're going to do this also the easy way. Okay, that is now trash, which I'll have to take care of at some point. I gotta empty that anyway. Okay, so these, oh wow, I have a lot here. 4 of these, which I do have. And then so I've got some extras in here somehow. I think 2 of these are like, these look like Joy-Con rail screws. That should be everything I need, so okay. And then these are the top and bottom shells. So the black screws, they go on the outside, and the silver and the brass screws are all internal. Okay, so now we'll just start here with the USB. Get you put back in place. Okay, got you good. All right. So now what we're gonna do is we'll put the heat pipe back on. Looks like it's got a whole bunch of gunk on it now. Don't like that. Where'd my alcohol go? What the dog doing? Yeah, so I gotta work on making sure I do this in frame for you. Just kind of scrubbing the, somehow this got, I told you, if I don't instantly take off thermal paste, like the moment I see it, it gets everywhere. Everywhere for me. And it is a giant pain in the ass. What did I do with that freaking alcohol? Oh, it's behind me now. So I prefer to clean it all off because I'm going to put new stuff on anyway. And there's no point in mixing unless it's still visibly wet. It's good to use. The drier stuff sometimes is okay, but anytime I replace a console and the thermal paste looks like actual paste rather than wet goo, I clean it off and put a new squidge on myself because, again, better safe than sorry. Stuff is relatively cheap. A tube lasts you freaking forever. I don't think you got to go out and buy some stupid expensive enthusiast level thermal paste because all that stuff was designed for very stupid stuff that you're never going to do with the Switch. So just your basic bitch thermal paste. I use Noctua NT-H1. I'm sure people, much like oil and motorcycles, will have their favorite brand of thermal paste and their reasons for using it, and I'm sure they're all valid. I use this because it's performant and affordable, and I felt like I didn't need anything more than that. So I have applied the perfect amount of thermal paste. And we're going to squish you down. Get that seated up in there. Line you up. It's just a little squeeze just to kind of distribute some. You don't really need too much. Don't really need too little. But if you're going to err on the side of anything, I would use too much rather than too little. These things do get warm, but they're also very well thermally protected. So if you screw up and didn't apply enough, it will just yell at you and shut the system down before it melts itself. Okay, that's all three right there. Now we just have some brass screws we got to put into place, which I do believe you are a brass screw, right? See, I thought still I feel a little light on screws here now. That's all right. We have plenty of spares. Is that not? It's got to be one. And that one too. And then one more for the metal shielding. I do like these little magnetic pads on my work mat here. They're quite handy. And you go here. Or is that just a silver screw? That is just a silver screw, isn't it? Yeah, that's a silver screw. Yeah, okay. So silver screws in the USB right there. We got a brass screw, a brass screw, and a brass screw. When I put the metal shielding on, there's going to be a brass screw that goes there, which I have right here. So a lot of people will tell you this is unnecessary. It really is. I do it anyway just because, again, it never hurts. But I put a little bit of thermal paste, and I mean just a little bit, a true pea-size amount on the heat pipe. Nintendo does it at the factory, and probably just a CYA thing. cover your ass. So you can see here on this heat shield, they like to use this pink thermal paste. I don't know what it is, but that's a good way for me to tell if anyone's ever been in the system. If that pink stuff is still there, it usually means they haven't touched much, if anything. But I just clean that off with a paper towel. And then plop the metal plate on. I do need to be a little conscientious of this power ribbon flex over here. Let's see, that should just pop right on. Okay, we're looking good. Looking good. Grab our one brass screw. And the brass screw goes in this middle left tab right here. It'd help if I didn't fumble, but we're okay. There we go. And everything else in this is going to be a silver screw. So I always tend to work in the star or zigzag pattern. Oh, that screw post is a little stripped, is it not? That'll work just fine. Just from my old days of motorcycle and mating metal to metal, even though this isn't really truly the same, kind of promotes an even fit. So we've got two more to go. So we've got one in the middle and then one on the top right. Oh, I didn't check. Well, let's just hope they're okay. Okay. And again, you don't really, like I said, with most of this stuff, you don't have to crank down on these things. Just as soon as they start to bite and get nice and firm and feel like they're tight, you just stop. No reason to severely crank. Oh, wait, there isn't one. Well, that's right. Yeah, the switch light doesn't have top right. So we've got bottom right, middle, top left, and then the middle left with the brass screw. Boy, I hope I'm not getting sick again. I've been fighting something off and on since November, and I think it's a sinus infection that keeps coming back. But look here. Okay. Yeah, this gonna come off. So that's just kind of caked on. Okay. So now the bitch of the thing. So I hate this part. I always struggle with this on switch lights. Now, I like to put the top portion on first because this headphone jack and whatnot, you kind of have to stretch the plastic over otherwise. But if you kind of like angle it in like this and get this part put on first, usually everything else kind of just falls into place for you. Okay. Yeah. So you want to make some horrible crunching sounds, which always makes me cringe, but it's just fine. It's just plastic clips and stuff going back into place. Oh, I'm just noticing now. Is that a crack there? Yeah. Son of a gun. Well, the game plastic around the game card reader is cracked. So that's going to be a couple bucks off of the price. It's not affecting anything, but again, when I sell something, I like it to be as absolutely as pristine as possible, which is not always the case with used stuff. So that is just a personal preference. But we are getting closer to this one being completely done. These little JIS screws are the worst because they're not as magnetic or magnetic at all compared to the other ones. So you got to be really careful you don't ping them off into Narnia. It looks like I am short. Nope, there it is. Okay. I swear those have to be Joy-Con rail screws. I don't know what else they would go to. It's random fasteners all over my workbench. All right, come on. There we go. All right. And then once I get this put into place here, we switch our tips just a tip. Okay. Flip you over, and now all 4 screws in the back of this are going to be your tri-tip or your tri-wing, which it wouldn't be a Nintendo system unless it had at least 4 of these things somewhere. I don't know why Nintendo loves these things so much. Y000 bit, though, is usually what I use to get them out and put them back in. Again, they're not very magnetic, so I like to hand place them, then screw them in. Because I have dropped my fair share of these, let me tell you. Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. That, my Zero viewers, is absolutely put back together now. Now I've got this, he's got this cheap ass screen protector that I kind of left on while I worked on it to kind of keep the grime off the screen. I'm going to peel that off and hopefully that'll, yeah, see, I don't like this, so it's hard to see, but I guess he must have dropped it or something. Maybe he did that as well when he was, oh, well, stupid me. I could fix that. I can't fix it, but I'm an idiot. I was on the wrong portion. So let's just go ahead and undo all my work here, because honestly, that's going to annoy the crap out of me. I'm just going to probably just end up tossing this back plate. Live for an hour and a half. Remember, this one, they're not magnetic, so I like to get them out, pick them up with my fingies. Okay, crack in the bottom. Usually I find that the speaker holes kind of give me the best purchase, and then you just kind of work along the seams here and just work the case off, and eventually I'll do that. And I just got to be really careful on this one, because this power flex, if you're not paying attention, you can absolutely rip that off pretty easy. Ask me how I know. Okay, that looks to be, yeah, that's as in place as it's going to go. Okay, so now this one, this case should, yeah, the game card reader is fine. So we're going to do the same thing before. We just plop it over the top here. Okay. There we go. So you can see it formed a nice seal there. And then we just work around the bottom and the sides, and everything just falls into place. Oh, that's why. Yeah, this one's got a little bit of a marking on the case, but honestly, like, that is not structural damage, whereas that up there was. And I'd rather have just a little bit of cosmetic damage, because this one's also going to come with a nice little case. Clean out those buttons as best as I can. Okay, well, so now we do the same job we just did. Put the screws in and screw them down, and then we get to claim victory. Okay. Bing. 2 more up top. I go back and forth. I think it's easier for the smaller screws to get them hooked into the screwdriver first, but see, like, I just dropped that. It's also why I always work over the mat as much as possible, because if they do fall, they don't bounce if they hit the mat. They just kind of stop and roll a little bit. But if they hit the table, yeah, see, I think it's just, try it this way, and then they hit the table, they're gonna bounce off in the 9th dimension, and maybe a month later when I'm sweeping up some random time, I'll find it. All right, so now the tri-tips, just a tip. Drop that one out, but no big deal. Because my little blue mat here saves the day. Okay, we got 2 more to put in. So close. We're at the finish line. Yeah, it's a lot easier just to stick these ones in the hole prior and then screw them down. Far easier this way. Okay. So finally, we gotta hit the button. Let's see what happens. Nintendo 1. Nintendo 2. And that, folks, is a working switch. Well, if there's anybody out there, yeah, Thundy, yeah, you have borne witness to the first ever switch I have fixed live on stream. It's definitely not the first one I fixed, but this one is the first one that I've actually brought back to life online. Not too bad. Still have to take care of that stupid parental control, but she good. You know, the volume control I did want to check. That's fine. I figured there wasn't going to be an issue with that. And yeah. I get to stick this one with the rest of the switches that I have yet to sell. And hopefully it will end up in a new home. Okay. Well, shoot, do I just end stream now and go out on a win or what? I kind of feel like I want to do that, but I kind of feel like I really need to work on this other one too. These all working? Shit. I don't know what I did with it now. Is it this one? No, it is not this one. Okay, well, where'd you go, Mr. Oh, there it is. Just it slipped below the rest of them there. All right, well, now we got this guy. Yeah, Thundy fucking definitely feels good, man. Definitely feels good. That was a cool kind of fix too, because I've never had to replace the backlight driver before, and so that was a first for me. And I was not even really confident it was going to solve the issue, but it did. And I don't know if this is visible, but for anybody out there that needs to replace the backlight driver, there's the DigiKey part number for you to look at. Now, I also, in that order, picked up a whole bunch of resistors to start repairing some of these broken daughter boards I have, or try to. And part of the China order I just pushed in, I picked up some spare daughter boards. So we'll have some more stuff to play with here. All right, well, we're just going to stick these screws in with these screws, or actually just put them back here. Not like it matters. All these damn screws are the same pretty much. I have fasteners everywhere now. That's fine. Okay, so this is a full-size switch that I picked up because the charging IC is supposedly dead on it, and it's throwing an error message that lets me know that. Oh crap. Yeah, these are stupid third-party controllers. They won't charge via the console, and they look like they're corroded too. Well, these things are worthless. They feel nice though. That's the sad thing. They feel great, but yeah. See, when they've got the individual USB ports, like that right there, it means that they won't charge off of the power from the switch, which is kind of like the point of the frickin' Joy-Cons. So you've got to have a separate charging station for these things. So those things are worthless in my opinion. But it is what it is. Okay, so let's take a look at this one now. This one is presenting an error message. I'll bring up my charger here, or my amp meter, plug in the charger. You can see I'm getting 15 volts. I'm getting 0.48 amps. It does come on, but then we get an error message. And now the error message that we get is error code 2101-0001. This error is almost always related to the M92 PMIC. And fortunately, it's a pretty routine fix. I have plenty of those chips on hand. The repair itself is not terribly difficult with the proper tools. So let's just kind of tear this. Oh, that's right. This one also did come with a lovely SD card. So I don't know if there's going to be any fun games on it. It did not come with a game from what I remember. No, it did not. There might be some water damage to this. I'm not sure. All the screws are here, which is good because, oh, it's missing the top screw, which is not too terribly uncommon. But all the Joy-Con rail screws are here, so usually that means that no one's been in here. Now the frickin' kickstand is just... Does it work? Yeah, it works. It's a little loose. I don't frickin' know, Thundy. Probably because they cost like $5 a pop or something like that. Usually when you see those controllers, they're stupid cheap. You know, they're China knockoffs or whatever. You know, some people just don't like to spend the extra money, but they don't realize what the extra money gets you. But now you've got to freaking charge them individually, and if they run out of battery while you're playing on in the handheld mode, you're screwed until they charge again. So yeah, they're worthless. I don't freaking know. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. Thankfully, I've got a bag full of Joy-Cons. So when my buddy, his brother bought a Switch Lite, and then apparently Amazon lost the shipment, so they shipped him another one. And then eventually the original one made its way to the doorstep. So my buddy got that one, but he told me, he was like, he'd rather have the full size version because he wants to sit on his couch and play it, which you can't do on a Switch. Switch Lite, you have to do on a Switch. So what he did was he just outright traded up the Switch Lite for a used Switch for me. And this one is a pretty prime candidate for a trade. It's in very good condition overall. And a hopefully very simple fix. And I'll just go ahead and resale that Switch Lite brand new unbox for more than I normally ask. But okay, all right, I'll pull that off. And yeah, I guess I don't know, there's some play in that kickstand. I don't know why, but it's kind of annoying. Anyway, go get a bag for all these screws here. And if you don't know, I prefer these little jewelry bags here to store all my fasteners because I tend to lose things pretty easily. But if I put them in bags, it's a lot harder to lose them. And when I'm learning new systems, I can bag up like if I didn't know where these screws went, then I could take all these and I could tape this bag to this piece and I could know that all these screws go for this plastic part. And then do the same thing. You can know that all these metal screws that I'm about to take out here will go to this assembly. But after a while, once you start working on these things a bunch, you just kind of memorize where all the screws go. And I just end up just shoving them all in the same bag. Okay, so we're going to keep that with this. Let's zoom out some here. Okay. I'm hoping I can just zap this one and call it a day. Got one in the middle here. Then we've got two in the corners. Right there. We have one more here. Go back over to the SD side. There's one here. This is the one that I usually forget about. And then finally, top right corner up here. And that should free the metal shielding. Of course. Of course. Ah, dang it. We have the pink square of sadness. So this has been exposed to water. I have corrosion on the battery contact. Corrosion all around the charging circuit. Corrosion on M92, so that's why M92 is not working. God dang it. Well, it's fairly light. Got corrosion on the hard drive too, which is very concerning because that is a part you don't want to see damaged, and it does look like someone's been in here. The thermal paste I'm seeing on the CPU does not look to be stock, and is very gooped on there. So I do believe someone was in here. Okay, so let's just get a closer look for you guys so you can see what I'm seeing here. And we can analyze this a little bit better. Oh, sorry, before I knock over my little bit of alcohol here. Okay, so let's move you, zoom out some here because I'm going to be all the way in. Okay. This light should turn off. Okay, so this is the M92 chip. And you can see all this junk right here. Now, funny thing is I might actually just be able to get away with spraying that with some electronic. I think it's pretty much hosed. You never really know. I mean, it's negotiating the 15 volts correctly. It is also charging, so I'm thinking that maybe it was just some corrosion here. You know, in fact, okay, so we got that. So that's corroded. Then we come down to here, and you can see, so this inductor, and this is the charging chip. Joy-Con rail. Power's got a little bit, and the actual battery connector you can see on the wires and stuff has some corrosion. A little bit of corrosion on that. It's not terrible. This is something I'd still feel comfortable moving on to somebody else because the damage is not that severe, pretty local. And yeah, so you can see that gray, the gray thermal paste right here, which to me, I believe they use pink on both. I could be wrong now I'm saying that. But anyway, this is the hard drive, or the eMMC. Hard drive's right here, and then it hooks into the board via flex connector here, and this is all corroded. So yeah, you don't want this. I mean, theoretically, I could transplant the hard drive onto another one of these, but if you break the hard drive, it's married to the CPU. So once you break this, the whole thing is dead unless it's an unpatched. And then at that point, you could run custom firmware, but you would never get the original. So I could start to see, I'm seeing all, it's all up in here. I imagine, I'm saying all this, and I imagine that when I flip this board over, I'm going to see even more carnage. So it might not actually be sellable, but we shall see. So it is functional, though. I mean, if it's booting like that, it's not completely fucked. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give this a scrub. Good old hard scrub here. See, I mean, other than it looks perfect, other than just a slight amount of liquid damage. Like, make sure, since there's a lot of power that goes to this. I'm just curious, to be quite honest. I'm really just curious if that solved my issue. So remember, we got the error before. No, okay. So it needs the charger, and it was charging. Huh. Well, it doesn't like this battery. So what we're going to do now is I have a known working battery. I'm going to plug you in here. And then just see if it boots. Oh, shoot. Well, god dang it. Oh, there goes my known working battery. Man. Well, that's unfortunate. I mean, I might be able to fix that, but I don't think it'll work with only one plugged in, but we're going to try. It does. Switch? Nope. Still have 20. So I still think whatever I did here, or whatever they did, it fried that chip. We'll test for shorts here in a second. I do want to see if potentially we are getting a charge, so I'm going to clear you off with the Q-tip first. Same thing with you. I mean, it's got a lot of corrosion over the leads. But not much on the board. I might have to replace BQ as well. But the thing is, as long as it's booting like that, it's a very good sign that this thing can be saved. So what I want to do now, let's just dry you off. I had some bad luck. Alcohol should be non-conductive, but I had some bad luck with the motherboard, and I think I fried a working donor board, what I use for just testing and stuff, but was broken enough where I don't feel comfortable selling it, so kind of fried it somehow. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to plug the battery in, and then I'm going to grab our multimeter here. Put the multimeter on voltage mode, and then red to red, black to black. We're expecting to see the value start to increase. It's charging. Okay. So thankfully the charging circuit's still fine. BQ still looks good. That's a nice steady charge. I am showing 0.47 amp. The system should have booted, so all in all, we're in a pretty good state right now. I'm going to check here now. We're going to go in continuity mode. For those that don't know, when I have a connection between my two leads, it beeps, and so basically this is going to detect shorts. So let's grab. Excuse me. Go back under the microscope so I can see a little bit better here. And we're just going to probe all around this chip here. Now, we do know that obviously the CPU is not dead, but one of the first tests that I always do is this chip right here, is this capacitor right here, which is definitely seen better days. Should be short on one side to ground because this is ground, but this side right here shouldn't beep. And if it does beep on this cap particularly, your CPU is most likely dead. Not always the case, but most likely the case. The same thing with these. We want to beep on one side, but not on the other. Now this cap right here, if this is short on both sides, then the Pi 1 or the Pi 3 or the P13 chip on the back, which controls the HDMI output from the dock, is most likely dead and needs to get replaced. Okay. Pull you down a little bit here. And these are also very common culprits. So there's no visible shorts. That gives a false positive because it's ground to, because I think this is a ground leg right here. Yeah. But this one is not. Okay, so it's not. Yeah. So the chip just must be damaged, but it's not displaying an issue. Now the other thing I can do is I can clean the corrosion off, but I think I'm just going to pull the board out and just do some more inspection to see how bad off things really are. And then we'll go from there on whether or not I want to replace them. Sorry, if I want to go replace M92 or not. 141, I don't have too much time left. I did kind of want to not spend all day on board repairs today. But I did want to get some work done because I do enjoy this. But I have been really enjoying Tarkov, which, speaking of which, I need to... God dang it, Thundy. Doing screen caps in my face. Oh man, yeah, I do think I've got some sort of infection going on here. Could also be because I've just been talking to y'all all day. I gotta do something real quick over here. Be right back. I needed to do some hideout work in Tarkov. For all those who play Tarkov out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's been a very fun wipe thus far. Excuse me, I am very not feeling good today. Well, my drop did not give me very much but a crappy shotgun. Alright, let's get back to it. Poor cat needs some water here. Let me just get that sorted for her while I remember. Ever since my dog passed, it's been hard to keep up with the cat water because the dog forced me to change it every day, but the cat doesn't drink nearly as much, so I gotta check on it every now and then to make sure it's fresh. Alright, back to it. So we gotta get all this crap pulled out now. And we'll start with my favorite part, which is pulling off the heat pipe. Actually, this is really not that much of a problem, but the way I like to do it is a little bit more involved than the way other people like to do it, because other people don't care about the foam, but I am just particular about that crap. As you've been here before, you've probably heard me mention it. I'm not a fan of destroying things if I can avoid it. Some people don't care, because really the foam doesn't do too much but provide a little bit better sealing, so the fan works a little bit more efficiently, but it doesn't really need it. But I like to just take a little hot air, kind of get that glue nice and warm, and just squidge the foam off the glue like so. Break the adhesive. The same thing up here. Get nice and warm, and you'll feel it kind of melt down a little bit, and the foam will start. You'll see it and feel the foam kind of break its hold on the glue, and just keep moving until you get all of it completely separated. And once you got that, then you can just kind of grab from below. There you go. Not too shabby. That was a pretty decent pull. Oh, no. Yeah, that looks to be factory. That's factory thermal paste right there. That is factory thermal paste. I think I kind of freaked out for no reason. Does not look like anyone's been in the system besides me. The reason it's kind of wet in the middle is I did get some alcohol that probably squeezed down below there. So I do a pretty... I just use a piece of paper towel. I used to use Q-tips, but honestly, the paper towel is slightly more efficient. Problem is you don't want to have these big chunks just flip everywhere. Again, if you get thermal paste on your board, it's really not a big deal. It just starts to get kind of messy. So we got that cleaned up. Now we just gotta, oh, look at that. See that big old chunk? Now, what was I telling you folks before, that if I don't instantly just go ahead and clean off thermal paste, it gets everywhere with me, because that's just who I am as a person. So my first job is to always just get rid of thermal paste. All right, so let's get you in frame. So now we're gonna go ahead and start pulling the cables out. New speaker connectors. These JSTs are a pain in the butt, but just grab. Yes, you don't want to do that, but you just grab a pair of tweezers. I might have to get stiffer ones. This one is, and you just kind of wiggle it back and forth. Eventually, it does work out, but this one's being a son of a bitch. And you don't want to do what I'm doing too much, because you'll just slice. These speaker wires are painfully thin, and you'll slice right through them. I actually have a thicker pair of tweezers that does a better job of gripping than these thin ones. That's not as good for the tiny components. Haven't used these in a while, but when I get stubborn speaker connectors, I actually do kind of prefer these. Yeah, see, now I could see this one's starting to move a little bit better. Now you're just kind of just trying to walk the plug out. There we go. I hate these things. I've always hated JST connectors. I will never like them. Usually when I get one done, I'm going right away and just get the other just to get it out of the way. That one came out a heck of a lot easier. Okay, so this is the Joy-Con rail right here. And pull you out. Backlight connectors right here. And this powers the backlight for the LCD. And this is the other Joy-Con rail. The one that's a pain in the butt to get in and out. This right here is my fan connector. This right here is the PowerFlex cable, which is the buttons up top. Okay. We've got our cells Wi-Fi antenna 1, Wi-Fi antenna 2. And that's as far as we can really get with that. So now we pull out a old handy dandy screwdriver and get to town. Now, the switches have black screws in various places. There's a couple hidden up here as well. So just remember when you're pulling these things apart where the black screws go and where the silver screws go. The switch light does not have the black screws. They have brass screws, which are longer. I think these are slightly shorter than the silver screws. Yeah, this does not feel like it's been apart. All these screws are nice and stiff coming out, so that usually means they haven't been taken out and put back in again, because that does kind of wear down the threading a little bit. Okay, so this is the game card reader. Now, not so much getting it out, but putting it back in, you got to be careful about this FPC connector. It's not a impossible thing to destroy that connector. I've had to replace it a couple of times for other people. Actually, one of my first ever commission jobs was replacing the SD card FPC connector, which also ended up having me to replace the SD card reader because that was mangled. Oof. Yeah, game card reader is highly corroded. I am very, very nervous now to flip this board over. Oh man, I hate liquid damage. Hate it, hate it, I hate it, I hate it. It's just on one or two components. It's not a big deal. It's looking like it's looking now. We could have some potential issues here. So actually, because this is so corroded, I am what the heck? There we go. Usually that one's not. It's hard to tell, but see, look at that. That's on the cable itself. It's luckily not really eaten through anything. I'll have to inspect the connector under the microscope. I see some corrosion on some of those pins. Same thing with the connector on the board. The fan connector shows a fan fastener right here is showing some corrosion. So we got the hidden black screws out. All this is all out. I think we are good to go. No, we do have to disconnect the LCD, which is right here. Now this is a connector that you do want to be very careful with because it does damage quite easy. And we pull this out, and the moment of truth, there's some on the back. It's not terrible. It's not what I wanted to see. Okay. This definitely took a bath in something. But it still does feel like it's fixable. And it's only going to a local friend of mine, so if he does end up having issues with it, we can talk about replacement. So let's just take a look at the rest of this corrosion here. And alright, so yeah, so you can see that right. This big chip right here is the anti-piracy chip. But luckily, it looks like the water stopped at those passes right below it. What we're looking at here, like all this is like responsible for the game card reader. There's some slight corrosion. Now this max chip right here is a power management chip, and it delivers the power rails across the board. Thankfully, it looks relatively free of damage. Over here, not entirely sure. It's diode inductor, probably voltage regulation. This doesn't look too good. Not terrible, but it's pretty heavy. This is a BGA chip right here. I think that's actually that might be the backlight driver. Thankfully, it didn't really do much. Some damage there. Around that, which is a screw hole. This is concerning. This is directly underneath the CPU. RAM right here. This is the Pi chip that I was talking about, which is also looking corroded. This is the audio chip. Yeah, so there's a lot of water damage on this board. There's way more than the top was letting on actually. And this is the fuel gauge right here. All that's functional though, because it does seem like it is working. So we'll just go ahead and clean, and I don't know. We'll clean and see what we can get working. Makes me sad. Makes me sad. So of course we'll just we'll start here with Pi and the audio chip. Yeah. I mean, the good thing is like you can see like all the caps still look nice and shiny silver, and besides that one on the front side of the board, which might need to get replaced right by M92. So that means that they did not overheat or short and corrode, because it would be gray and black, all then looking charred and shit. Yeah. Thankfully, though, I mean, it doesn't look like it's bad. I'm still thinking that even if after I clean all this crap up, we're still going to have an M92 error, but we're going to try anyway. Because again, I do everything in my power to not replace hardware. If I don't have to replace it, I won't. It's cheaper, and the less work you do, the better, because you have less potential to break something that's not broken, which I'm very good at. Once again, if you're new to this channel, it's called An Idiot Repairs, and I am in fact a very large idiot. Okay, that's looking fine. So let's go clean now. Now this right here, let's close all these flaps down. This right here needed a scrub. Yeah, you could see, like, that's the other reason why you want to be careful with your tweezers. You'll poke through the solder mask there. Not a huge deal, but again, it's just damage that doesn't need to happen. That's all looking good. I think I saw some corrosion up by the fan and the power flex, and so it's got the diode behind the fan connector. So it's an older revision, so this might be an unpatched board too. So thankfully this FPC connector looks okay. It looked like it was corroded visually, but those pins look absolutely fine. We have a couple of those test pads are a little worse for wear, but the hard drive caddy looks okay. All the lines are intact. A couple of that ground plane is looking a little eaten through, but again, that's not a huge deal. Won't really affect anything. And that's the SD card connector right here. That big black thing. This big black thing right here. And this is the GPU buck regulator. It is a Max chip as well. And then this is the CPU buck regulator. These are also areas that you don't want to see short or charred passes on, because they connect directly to the CPU. Now that is the backlight driver. Thankfully, it's looking okay. Again, like just before with the switch light on the switches, this is a 17 volt area. You can see there is some charring. There's some charring on the signal and the power and the 5 volt line for the backlight. Nothing hugely bad. I might have to go in there and scrape a little bit. But otherwise, all looking fairly normal. So let's just do ourselves a favor here, and we're going to warm the board up with a little 212 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit air. That's right around like 80 C or something like that. Just to evaporate any residual alcohol. Because again, after my lovely experience yesterday, I'm not taking any more chances. Although I did realize after all that happened that the stuff I was spraying on was actually 70% versus 99, and you're not very familiar with how isopropyl alcohol works, the higher the number, the less water that's in the bottle. So what 70% is not very good for electronics. You want the 99%. And I think what happened is I used 70% and it shorted something. Lesson learned. I mean, thankfully it was just a donor board that I walked out, but still, I hate breaking things that were working. Although oddly enough, when it broke, it produced the same fault condition as the board that I was working on, in which BQ isn't showing a short, but it's acting like it's short. Okay, so blah 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 blah. I honestly don't think that fixed it. However, we are just gonna try. It never hurts to try. Because again, if it was just a little bit of corrosion on a passive that was causing poor contact, I don't know, because generally when M92 dies, it dies, and you don't see 15 volts and all that, and definitely usually don't see a charge. So maybe just a little bit of some corrosion here got in the way and caused some poor contact and made my day not so bright. It's all looking good. It's all looking good. I'm off screen again. See, I've just got to get used to that. I always go off camera, so this fan tends to kind of always get in the way for me, and I don't know why. Oh, shoot. Well, I didn't want to do that. Backlight cable needs to come out some. One of the guys I watch, the coder, he likes to install the LCD flex first, and I've tried that a couple of times, and a few of the times I ended up screwing up the connector. So I stopped doing that. Oh, F. Well, that's broken. It's one step forward, two steps back. These cables start to get really irritating. Okay. Usually I find that it's just this housing for this fan, like kind of just gets in the way somewhat. But again, I don't really need it to be perfect. I just need it to. Oh, is that good? No, it's still raised up a little bit, but that's fine. All right, whatever. What I could end up doing is once again off camera. So this is the LCD cable connection, and I kind of treat this one with kid gloves because it's pretty easy to bend these pins in here. There we go. Now we're just, all we're really doing. Quick little verification. Yeah, see there's some corrosion in that backlight flex too. Don't even really need to hook up much more than that. Yeah, display came, that's good. Second switch. Nah. Still the same. So, again, what is this? What are you? Where did you come from? Oh no. Oh, yeah. That would be why the top screw is broken. So this little plastic piece goes here. It's not an uncommon part to break off. Again, I just hate seeing it. Okay. All right, well, just as expected, that did not solve the issue. But not a huge deal. Just kind of inspecting all these cables here for extra damage. I mean, we did kind of get lucky, and most of the corrosion is pretty superficial. But still corrosion, so. Now we get to do the fun part. So basically, we're going to pull this chip off, put a new one on. And hopefully call it a day. Okay, well, got that going. Okay. So weird, I mean, everything does look, I don't know, I mean, not terrible. I've seen worse. Quite literally seen worse. But any type of liquid damage is definitely no good. Yeah, I can see on the metal shielding some liquid damage there. I had an inkling when I looked in and I saw a little bit of white that we were going to be dealing with it. I have kind of become slightly adept at picking out which boards are going to have liquid damage before I actually open them. Unfortunately, it doesn't always help me online when I'm buying them. But, you know, take the good with the bad. Unfortunately, that is just a problem in the repair world in general. And if you don't prepare yourself for the fact that not everything you buy is going to be fixable, then you're going to have a really, really bad time. Okay, so 420 degrees Celsius air, and then I'll pull this chip off, take a look underneath, and see if anything is crazy bad. Added a good amount of flux. And we're just waiting for the solder to wet down. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, all that looks fine. No, the pads look eaten up. Damn it, did I knock? Are those resistors there? Ah, shoot. We'll fix that real quick. No, the pads look too bad. That's a little corroded, but what I did want to do is put the chip back on the board upside down, take a look at it. I mean, the chip itself doesn't look to be in bad shape. No legs are eaten away or anything, so we'll just set you aside because we know you're not working, so I want to mix you in with my other chips. Let's go fix these resistors here real quick. I guess I must have knocked them or something. Fortunately, these are all just 100 KO201s, which I have a literal boatload of, so if I screw anything up here, it's not that big of a deal, really. Alright, good enough for now. Do I want to add solder to these pads? I think I do. Every time I try to just use factory solder, it just doesn't seem like it's enough. Excuse me. So I think we'll go ahead and do that. But we shall get a more appropriate tip. I'm always tempted to use this one. So I'm just, for sanity's sake here, a little extra flux. And of course, I bridged those two capacitors there, but that's not a big deal. There, fix that, no problem. Okay, that's fine. We'll have to get in there and fix this bridging, but I like to reflow everything down afterwards and just kind of figure out what's what. And I like to get that center pad. That's too much solder on the center pad, but we'll make it work for now. Basically, just want to, yeah, see, like, looking mostly okay. Those ones in the bottom, I'm kind of worried about. The ones at the top look fine, but yeah, we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go here. Okay, so pull a fresh M92 out. This is the one chip I have a very lot of stock of because it's so fragile. So fragile, and I don't know if there's just no better option or what, but I replace this thing more than any other chip, really. And yeah, I know I bridged the crap out of this this guy right here, but that's an easy fix, and I'm just gonna kind of save it at the end. I'm probably gonna replace this capacitor as well. I think that's just a 4.7 microfarad. I actually do have a way to test it now, which is nice, but I have to pull it out of circuit regardless. So, all right. So again, once again, see, we've got the indexer right here, which points to pin 1 being right there. So we just gotta match our dot with our marker. Okay. And then once we've got that kind of in place, we're going to just flow it down, tack it down, apply a little bit more flux, and then I used to not do the squeeze, but I'm having a little bit better luck with it lately. I think now that I've become more confident with moving chips around in molten solder, I've kind of gotten better at the so-called touch that you need. It's a very light touch that you learn just how to, just enough pressure to apply to properly nudge things when they're wet. And yeah, it takes a little bit of practice and getting used to figure out just what to do and how to tap it. Then once you kind of figure out just how light you need to touch things, your life gets so much easier. Let me just clean this tweezer tip off a little bit. I want to just, what I'm doing is highly unnecessary. I am just very anal about trying to get things as perfect as possible, even though surface tension should hopefully take over here. That's just crap. See, it's a little canted off to the right, which is fine. You know, eventually I'm most likely going to have to nudge things anyway when things get wet, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Just, you know, I'm probably being a little too picky here. All right, it's still off, but okay. I think we're just gonna try and make that work for now. Once again, we kind of start off higher. You don't really want to. You can see how the chip is wobbling a little bit right now. Maybe work your way in. Let the flux kind of wet down, and then it'll kind of stick to the chip and make the chip stick to the board. But when things are still kind of cold, start high, and then move down closer to the chip. All right. Okay. Well, not perfect, obviously. You can see how it's way out of alignment here. But what we're gonna do is some more flux, and then we'll begin the nudging. Okay, a lot of flux, but that's fine. I think we're going to actually just make this a little bit easier on myself. Do that. Are you on the screen? Are good, good, good. It's manual focus you. So I'm going to try to nudge from the right here. And basically just kind of get, and just a little tap. You just got to kind of touch the chip. Not much pressure, just a touch. You see how that, oh, almost. Problem with using too much flux, like I have, is it'll float like it's on a lake, which is why you do kind of want to watch how much flux you use, because it did kind of not want to settle right. It still looks a little off. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clean off all this flux so I can see, and then we'll do an inspection, and then most likely we're going to have to still adjust a little bit and add some more solder in. But truth be told, that actually did kind of go on pretty good. Got a pretty good confidence. I got a good chunk of them on okay. Did see a couple of solder pads that looked a little light, which is fine, but you know, again, not an impossible problem to overcome, just annoying. If you really want to try to get everything done with hot air, you don't really want to have to keep mucking around with soldering iron, because you'll do stuff like I did up top there and bridge those components together, and then it just becomes a giant effing mess. Again, I hate this freaking Amtech flux, man. stuff is just so burny. All this, like, look at this. It's all burned on the board. You kind of got to like scrape at it almost to get it off. I guess it kind of maybe cooled down some too. So usually if you have problems with stubborn flux, heating it up is a very good way to get it off, because it will re-liquefy, and once it's in a liquid state, it's a lot easier to deal with. Now, the only thing I will mention is you don't want to overheat your board. So if you find yourself doing a lot of work, let your board rest every once in a while in between jobs, because you don't want to warp it and you don't want to cause any internal damage. And even components themselves, they do have a kind of a tolerance for heat. Most of these chips are pretty good, can handle a fair chunk of heat, but a lot of the small BGAs, they're kind of like, just think of them like glass. They're really sensitive to heat, and they'll start to fracture and chip and stuff if you use too much heat or too consistent of a heat. Most of that stuff looks good. Okay, take a little cotton swab here. Continue with the alcohol. Wet it down again, and we'll just use a dry side scrub and pick up maybe any crap that got left behind. Still not perfect, but good enough for now. Okay, so let's put you on inspection mode and get rid of this camera menu. All right, you can see that this side is completely not soldered on. %, not soldered on. There's a light gonna help here in this one. To me, there's a gap in between the leg of the chip and the pad. It's not bad. I mean, they're aligned. Everything's aligned perfect, which is what really was the most important part. But see that second one from the left right here? Like, that's perfect. That's what you want all of them to look like. And the rest of them are not looking good on that side. So we're gonna need some solder there. Same thing with that. You can see there's an actual gap there. So I'm gonna actually have to hit this with the hot air one more time and do the squish. Yeah. Okay, so while I do have everything aligned pretty well, it's not making good contact. And this is why folks do put a little bit of pressure on top of the chip and press down on it, because that way you kind of do ensure things go flat to the board. The issue with doing that is, let's see, I got all my screws knocked all over the place. God dang it. The issue with that is that you do squish residual solder out, so it can kind of squeeze out in a component surrounding it, making your life a freaking nightmare. All right, so and some people say that squeezing down on a QFN is not necessary and it can cause damage to the PCB. I don't really know one way or the other on that, but the person or persons who have mentioned it are highly skilled, so I would not really put it past them. So what I like to do is I put pressure this, and I'm gonna push. See, I'm gonna have to do it like this. I like to push in the.
Sorry, I don't know that.
Okay, Alexa. Yes, you don't know that. This is just not. I don't like it. I don't like that. There's just too much board flex like that. I think it's going to be the same when I do it like this. Yeah. Do it like this, it's the same. If I do it like, yeah, that's about the best as I'm going to get it, huh? It does make me want to kind of go back to my other board holder, which I might end up doing. Let's do it like this for now. Okay. It should be fine. I'm going to push on this side of the chip at the flat part of my tweezers. And if it squishes out solder, it should squish it out this side, which is a lot easier to deal with. This side's not so bad. This side's kind of a pain in the ass. This side's more of a pain in the ass. So, again, I don't want to use too much flux because I really don't want this stuff to float. But I have a feeling that even after, I have not really perfected the squish. And what happens is, or what's most likely going to happen is I'm going to squish it down and it's going to skew it. And then I'm going to have to go back in and retap it, which is, again, it's not a huge deal, but it's just more and more work I got to keep doing to make it happen. And I try to avoid that. It's 2:30 now. Okay, just got to find my Poke Jammy, whatever I did with it. I think it hit the ground, did it not? The other problem with my workbench is it's kind of slanted, so anytime something round hits the slant, it just rolls off into oblivion. And I'm constantly losing my Poke Jammy. And I mean constantly losing it. Like now. What did I do with the frickin' thing? And this is why next weekend, before I start stream anything or do any more repairs, this whole bench is literally getting torn down and rebuilt. And I'm going to do it as perfect as possible this time, so that I might have as much room as I can possibly have. So that hopefully we don't spend half my repair videos looking for goddamn tools. Where did my Poke Jammy go? I need that. I really do. It's probably literally right in front of my face, and I just can't see it because I'm also blind, as well as deaf. I mean, I could use the soldering iron tip, but it's not really its intended purpose. Why do I do this to myself? It's like I swear I heard it hit the ground, but I can't see it. So now I gotta stand up and look. Started keeping some of my things on the floor because it's easier to keep them out of the way that way. But it's kind of lazy. Now there you are. There you are. See, it did hit that. You know, I swore I heard it fall. There's my Poke Jammy. Okay. Okay, folks. Well, again, I'm gonna use a flat part of the tweezers. That's gonna drive me nuts. That's gonna drive you guys nuts. That's focused enough. All right, take 200. All right. So you see that big old solder blob in the right-hand corner there? Now, let's not burn my finger like I did last time. I'm going to leave this tip on because I think it's going to be okay to get in there. I do have a... Oh, yeah. You just got to touch it up. There we go. See? Real quick and easy. So the other nice thing that pushing the chip down does is if it isn't really making contact or it's not completely flat on the board, the motion or the action of you pushing down on the chip will cause the chip to hopefully lie flat for you as well. So that now, let's put you on because it makes it easier. Yeah, see, even those legs right there on the right still look thin on solder. I'm just going to go ahead and say that all these are going to be the same, that they're all just going to need a little bit of additional love here. That actually doesn't look too bad. It's not perfect, but not the worst. And then this side. Ooh, that one is a little off. Yeah, not looking the greatest there, huh? As well as really, really light on solder. So, I think we're going to start with that side first. Probably going to have to do some more nudging here. I don't know why that side, like, it's so weird. Like, that side is just off, but everything else is in line. You would think that if one side is off, it would mean at least one other side is off as well. And those all look like they're in line. So, I mean, it's not the worst job. It's just not the best job either. Yeah, it's not that off. Let's just get some solder on it and then hit it with some hot air. And that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to hit this with some solder. And then hopefully we'll fix our issue there. So we're going to just hit you with a little bit of flux. This is not, yeah, it's way too much, but that's fine. It'll melt down the moment I touch it with the soldering iron, or actually just hit it with a little bit of, we'll do some preheating here to help with the, also help with the solder. Okay. Nice and preheated. So we're gonna grab 10. The only problem, though, with all the flux on the board and shit is you just can't, until you clean it off and look again, you just don't really know how good of a job you've done. We'll just Let's hit this again with some. Okay. Let's clean up a little bit of this flux real quick. Just so things are nice and warm. Or extremely hot. Evident by the instantly evaporating alcohol and the fact that I'm burning my fingies off touching this board. Still, those two still need some solder. Everything else looks fine, so it's 3 and 4 from the bottom. Okay, so do this. I'm going to turn this off because I think it does really make things a lot easier to see for everyone. Should still have a little bit of flux that I can use right here. Should be more than enough. Bigger the glob, better the job. Okay. Clean this tip off. And then we're just going to focus on those bottom legs and hopefully we did a good enough job there. I mean, I could always just reflow it too. This is the one thing I really wish I had a wireless mic or mouse for. Oh, I can't tell. I honestly can't tell. Looks better. Maybe light off or light on. No, let's breathing a good old heat here. That's all liquid now. And then we can take toothy brush. And we'll just try to do a basic cleanup. If I gotta add more flux, I gotta add more flux, but a little 212 degree Fahrenheit air. Nice and evaporated. There we go. That's looking a little bit more agreeable. What do you folks think? That is still not connected. Just take a look all around too over here. Yeah, see, that side is garbage. And this side, yeah, same thing. Okay, just as I thought. I mean, this whole chip is just going to need work. I guarantee you, if I plug this in right now, it's not even going to negotiate 50. Oh, wow, that's all. Yeah, this whole thing is just. I just did not have enough solder on those pads. Okay. Okay. That's what we do. We go back. We do it again. And again, and again, and again. This is where I really, really suck at QFNs. And for some reason, I don't know why I can never get enough solder on the pads before I put the chip on. I mean, I've tried so much, and everything I've done, it's like sometimes it works for some of the legs, and most of the times it doesn't work for the rest of them. I've done use the solder ball with solder rather than a tip. I've done use the tip. I've done use hot air along with the soldering iron, and just every time it just seems like it's like some of them are fine, and then most of them are just I need to go back and just hit them with the soldering iron. It's just very frustrating. Now this one has a very tiny O201, which I'm kind of nervous about. That I do have to be careful about, but I don't really want to. You know what? For this job, I'm actually just going to say screw it. I'm going to grab a more proper tip. Now, this tip is not the greatest because it doesn't have much thermal mass, so I do have to end up leaving it on the pad for a while. But the nice thing about it is it's very, very tiny, so it gets in those gaps a lot better. Yeah, so this tip right here, so I think it's a C1. Okay, that's looking better. I think I'm having better luck with this tip because I did keep the board nice and warm. That's looking good. See, like you see how I'm applying the solder to the flat portion of the tip, right? Okay. So while we're in here, try about seeing. I might have to pull this poor capacitor off. Dang it. I feel like I just dropped another screw. touch a little bit of that braid, and then we're going to essentially pre-tin the braid here. Okay. The reason I do that, so I don't want it to fray when I touch this capacitor here. Okay, you're still in view. When they get like this, it's kind of pain in the ass to get that last little tiny bit of solder out. That might have done it. I don't think so, but what we can do is see if this might work here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see about heating it back up. And then sometimes, you know, the solder likes to flow to other solder. And so when you get these little micro bridges, sometimes you kind of cure them by just getting them nice and wet. And then they just kind of suck back to their respective pad. Issues. I can't really see anything right now. Okay, that looks like it might have done it. And if it didn't, I'll just pull. You just pull one of them off, then just wick off the crap, and then put it back, and you are in business. But that looks like it did it. Solder bridge is really no big deal. Okay, so yes, I'm off camera again. All this work just to get the camera working here for you guys, but I do it for you, my 0 viewers. Let's zoom out a little bit here. And we're just scrubbing all the excess flux that I threw on there just for the hell of it. Can't remember who said bigger the glob, better the job, but my God, I don't live by that philosophy because the more flux you use, the better. In a lot of such situations. Let's see, I like this. Overhead light really does make things look so ugly. See, that looks like a much better job. It still looks a little canted to me, but again, like, it's not a huge deal. It's off by just a little. I could reheat this and nudge it some, but I think right now we're just gonna, again, if I got this as good as I think I just did, yeah, see, that's better. Now, you don't really, those things on top, they're alignment marks, and it's not necessary to have the solder go out to them, but that's how you know that you've got enough solder on there. And those end guys still need some love. It's probably a little hesitant around that 0201 right there. Okay, so they still need some love. That's perfect. Absolutely brilliant on that. Absolutely brilliant on that. That third one from the right going to the left is looking a little thin, but I think it's got a good connection because I could see the solder blob in there. It just didn't go all the way to the top of the alignment marker, like I was saying. But these guys on the end right here, is it this guy? Yeah, it's this one, isn't it? No. They don't look too clever. So I'm going to put a little bit more flux on the board, get back in there with that soldering iron, and then hit those guys up. And then clean off again and try out try out my work. So let's do this. We have a little bit of solder. Let's get you off screen here just to make my life easier. I should have enough flux poking out to make this work. Just kind of want to touch those guys like that. I don't need much more than that. So again, we're gonna flat part, just get a little bit on there. All right. Don't want to go too crazy here. Let's see, I should be able to hopefully see through that flux. Yeah, it's still looking a little thin on that one right there, but the other two are good. So it's really the one that's right in front of that freaking capacitor, and that's because that goddamn capacitor is so close. So pull you off in the manual focus here. Boy, we're having a thunderstorm right now. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it is going bonkers out there. Raining super hard. I think the rest of the country is getting a massive snowstorm in the northeast, and we're just getting the rain. Which, you know what, I honestly can't complain about. I got my little bit of snow this year on Christmas, which is all I really ever want. Just a day or two of some snow. And then I'm done. I think I am going to just put a little tiny bit extra solder on this. Okay, that did it. That had to have done it. That had to have done it. As I can see a nice big bubble there now. Yeah. Yeah, we're looking good. We are looking good. Yeah, that looks like it's got a much better connection on it. Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. I think that should honestly do it for getting M92 on there. I'm just gonna hit this with some hot air to warm up the flux again and kind of uniform out those pads. And I did not clear the solder bridge. I can see right now it's still there. All right. So let's see if we can't get that cleared out. I'm probably going to have to pull off one of those capacitors and just reattach it, because this bridge, once it's at like a certain depth on the board, yeah, it's just not going to be happy here, huh? Try maybe hitting it up again, see if nah. we're going to do this the right way. Got to get it into a board holder so it's a little bit sturdier for me. Otherwise, things tend to just kind of go wonky pretty quick. Okay. So essentially, ooh, that is not good. I literally just melted my freaking monitor. Oh my lord. That stinks. Oh lord, literally it stinks. So bad. Yeah. Did I make mention, folks, that I really need to reorganize my workbench because it's so cramped? Well, literally just melted the shit out of my monitor. And now my freaking soldering iron is gonna stink like melted plastic. I'm damn sure this isn't gonna work, but we're gonna try again anyway. Okay, well, let's just do it the easy way. The correct way? Definitely the easy way, though. I don't know if correct is a proper word or not, but many ways to skin this cat, so to speak. Let's get you back in frame. Basically, we're just going to nudge one of these caps out of the way and then put it back on. Yeah, see how the solder got nice and stuck to the two pads there. It's a little blurry because you could see like this right here and just needs to get cleaned up like so. And then all we got to do is just reverse our action. Okay. And then just a little bit of extra flux, which I just wiped all over my microscope. Is green. Just touch it with some flux here. And then hopefully surface tension on this one will just kind of suck everything back into place. There we go. Come on, baby. I didn't want to go perfectly, but that's fine. Yeah, not a huge deal. That's all you need to do. Should be good. Yes, sir. Okay, well, I don't think I'm going to get M92 on any better, and now all we can really do is just clean, reinspect for the final time, plug in, and cross our freaking fingers. I don't know, with the way things have been going, well, all my easy fixes have been just a freaking nightmare. And then the fact that this was liquid damage when I wasn't expecting it to be liquid damage is kind of making me feel the same way. And I'm going to plug this son of a bitch in. We're going to still get the same issues here. Oh, well, I completely ruined that shot, but not like y'all were missing much, just scrubbing away a toothbrush here. All those look clever. We're going to flip you over. Did I ruin anything on the other side? I don't know what that is, but maybe the mat. I'm just making sure I didn't float any components off like a dumbass, which I'm pretty good at doing, but most of the stuff looks good. This little BGA right here, this fuel gauge, that guy's a big old thorn in my side. All right, we're gonna let this cool down for just a second here. I don't like plugging in super hot boards to power. Gives you bad readings, and it also could cause some stress to the components, which you don't really want. I don't think I lost any screws. It's looking good. Okay. I guess in the meantime, while that's cooling off, we'll hit this with some heavy duty stuff. Electrical contact cleaner, which is basically just hexanes. Boy, that was really corroded. It was pretty chunky on there, huh? Cleaned off mostly okay. This stuff won't eat away at plastic. It won't eat away at rubber. I think it does a much better job than IPA in a lot of instances with getting corrosion out. In this case, I think it pitted this, although that's coming up now. Definitely needs a little bit of a rougher. Let's see if I took this plastic bit here. I mean, it's pretty well good and corroded here. I did want to go look at those pins too. I think that's as good as I'm going to get it. I might be able to. Don't look too bad. To me, it looks like the pins I thought that were corroded are okay. We'll have to put it under the microscope and see. And now the inside looks fine, thankfully. These game card readers are not cheap. Really don't want to have to replace them. But it looks good. Okay, so this is cooled down enough. So the first test we do is we just bring the ammeter into play here. Okay, so we're basically just looking for 15 volts. 15 volts, 0.7, 0.0, perfect. And now we check the other side. 15 volts. You do expect a little bit of... That's fine. I don't know if this is... There's something wrong with this cable or what. Okay. Okay, so now that we got that done, we'll take our known battery here. It's good. Which I now have to repair because I ripped the lead off somehow. That's not a big deal. Just a test battery. I might order a couple more though if they were $6, so. Alright, we got charge again. But no boot. Oh! Nope, no boot. Still error 210001. Yeah. She is not booting. I could tell because you see it flicks down to 47, and then when it boots, it should flick off and then back on again. But it's not doing that. Oh, actually, try this real quick. We're gonna do one more test. We've got to pull the battery off and then replug it. 47. .0 now. Yeah, see. That to me says I'm on the error screen. Okay. We're going to try anyway, and then if it doesn't work, we'll just call it a day. It is later than I wanted it to be, but that's fine. I'm not expecting this to work. I'm expecting the same error. The only thing I could think of is maybe I need to replace that capacitor, that right below. The only one that looked kind of suspect to me might need to get replaced. But while it doesn't look the best, it doesn't look like it's also really causing a problem. Yeah, I know those flex cables are probably what's causing my issue there, which is fine. That slid in nice and good. Okay. Well, I'm expecting the error screen to show up, but yep. Do the old hard reset. Oh, yeah, that's right. It won't work because I don't have the power flex plugged in. Okay. Well, it's not going to matter. I know that me doing a long reset's not going to fix this issue, but we'll try it anyway, just to try it. I do like to rule out as much as possible before I ask for help. But usually, 99% of the time, and I had a feeling that this is what was going to happen with this one, that error code is just strictly M92, but I'm thinking that it's something else now, because that M92 didn't look like it had any issues associated with it. Okay, so it's really the same thing. We're just going to plug it in, wait for it to error, and then we'll follow the power instructions that it asks for. Oh, wait, I'm a dumbass. Kind of helps to plug the LCD in, huh? Sure does. Can I plug the battery in? I did not. It's amazing how much your ammeter can tell when things go wrong. Error screen. I wonder if it's the fuel gauge. Current's also at 0.09 amp, but that just could be because the battery is so dead. Could be BQ. Could be the fuel gauge. Yeah. Yeah, because see, like, look, it's only doing 0.09, but I think that's just because the battery is so freaking dead. All right, we're gonna take a look at one thing here on my multimeter. I just want to see if it's charging. CPU is getting warm, so I don't. Oh, let's turn this off. Yeah, we don't need you anymore. Ah, see, now it's not charging. So it could be BQ related. Now, let's try this. Interestingly, it's only got 0.09 amps now. All right, we're gonna let this charge. We're gonna let this charge. However, I'm gonna just end it there, and we'll pick up with this one later. Do some more research on 210 and see what we can find. Usually it's just the M92 that needs to get replaced. I replaced the M92. It did not fix my issue. So unfortunately, I do have some more work I got to do with it. but we're making progress. We did fix the blue one, so we did have somewhat of a success today. And then hopefully this one we could figure out, because everything on it looks to be fine, but you never know. Well, all that corrosion that was underneath the CPU does make me kind of nervous. And there is that one capacitor that I could still replace, which might do something for me, but I doubt it. Regardless, we do have some more work to do on it, and we'll get back to it shortly. But thanks for anybody that stopped in, anybody that's still out there. I do appreciate you hanging out, and pay attention for when I go live next, and maybe next time we'll get this one up and running. All right, guys. Well, you all have a good day, and I'll catch you on the next stream.